Not quite. Yeah.
I think it's.
Three. That makes more sense.
That's a whole lot. So I need to call her. Okay. I don't. to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Additions to the agenda or changes. Well, I've got one temporary cleaning contract, Kevin, you're going to introduce.
Yeah.
And Tim and Ford, at the end of the meeting, you stand up and on the rename. Okay, approval of minutes and claims.
You didn't turn your mic on.
Thank you. Approval of minutes and claims.
Yeah, I looked at them. I've done, just told you it's about 18 grand. Did you get an answer?
Yes, the money has come in, but we can't tell you what fund it went into.
Okay.
We'll tell you that later, but yes, the money came in June. Yeah.
That's good. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and claims.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Tim Clark,
Yes.
Ron, or Kevin,
Yes.
Ron,
Yeah, yes.
Next item. We applied for Rural Empowerment Development Grant from Ultra, and with Ball State support, we weren't selected. The purpose was to develop a shared vision, goals, and supporting projects for the county that incorporate areas of cultural, social, and economic aspects. These attributes also include zoning. The countywide community engagement piece is what was missing from the draft comp plan that was drafted in June. Compared to the competition, we lacked countywide community engagement that they were expecting, but that was what we were hoping they would help us provide. So kind of the catch-22. Plan B, I'll discuss with the RDC. They developed a draft of the community engagement plan, and an additional option is to contract any kind of support that we need. So stay tuned on that one before pursuing that initiative. Next item. Excavator replacement. This is a follow-on from last meeting. Kevin?
So you have that file. So I think the thing that we had tabled that on was Ron had requested some additional information related to the actual value of the older 318F that we have. So Eric, were you pull that information together?
Yeah, I've got two evaluations for that. One was 39,000, one was 45,000. Both for trade-in values.
Okay.
It's only two people that I got to give some numbers on.
And so that, if I recall correctly, and looking at that, there's the buyout that we still have, $97,230 is what we have on the lease that's ending
On the newer one, yeah.
on the new.
Is that much?
It's 97.
$97,230.
Correct. It's about
So I had made a recommendation the last time that we basically proceed forward, or was going to make a recommendation to proceed forward with replacing it with the JP, not to take the lease and purchase the JCB.
Can we talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
This piece of paper, if I'm reading it right, it said that we're taking the money that we was going to use to pay for that cat and moving it over to the JCB Hydrodig. That 318, does it do 360 or 180 or what? You know? Does it turn around all the way, or does this do like a 180?
No, it will spin around.
Okay. What about the new piece? What's it do?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and also the arm actually pivots itself without spinning the machine where the other one's fixed. To turn the arm, you have to turn the actual machine.
Yeah. I know the new one's a lot lighter, but I was just kind of running some numbers in my head. The 318 was like 44,000, 22 tons. And the other one come in at like 29,000 or something. It's about, 9 tons lighter. And there was some concern that the 318 was tearing up roads. And the roads that you mentioned, I wasn't real familiar with Slippery Elm or something that you mentioned, but I'm pretty familiar with Covered Bridge Road, Short Shoe, and Grandma Barnes, which those three roads are in such bad shape anyway that it wouldn't take much to tore them up. There's Cat's pretty smart people. They designed that machine specifically to do that job. The other thing that I noticed it said is that the operator cannot, on both the high speed loader that you bought with the truck with the boom on it, the operator would have to get off of it and move the truck and then reset the riggers unless you had two people there. One driving the truck and one operating the thing, because that's gonna be a lot every time the guy has to move a few feet. They'd have to crawl off the truck or crawl off the machine to move the machine because you can't move it from sitting up in the seat, correct?
No, you're thinking of something different. The Hydrodix just like an excavator, so you'd be sitting in the cab, all the controls are inside.
But you can move the whole machine without, it's just one guy.
Correct.
That's not what some reason I heard, but I don't always get it right. At 44,000, that's 22 ton. I can't imagine that excavator hurting the road more than a triaxle dump truck loaded with 22 ton of stone. When that triaxle weighs somewhere between 24,000 and 40,000. So that's an additional 20 ton. You're actually, if you're loaded with your heavy blade part on the front, you're actually probably closer to the 40,000. So you got 40 ton there instead of 22 ton, just in a triaxle dump truck. That's going to break down a bad road quicker than anything.
You 40 ton on a triaxle?
No, I said 40,000. And then if you add 22 ton, you're another 40,000. So you're actually over 80,000.
80,000 capacity is on a log truck. That's a trailer accommodation. I don't think you can plate
A triaxle dump truck, a triaxle dump truck loaded with a full load of stone weighs as much as a tractor trailer. So the weight, if you ever see those trucks show up, if they come off in your driveway sinks. You can see the impression where they've been. But so the weight thing, it don't really make that much sense to me. The thing that I would think would be the outriggers going down into the, if it's bad pavement, those outriggers might break up the pavement if it's bad pavement. But on my road out there, it didn't break up no pavement. So, but now on that speed loader, the operator, when he's running the dig or whatever, loading trees or what, he can't move that truck from up there, can he?
Is that what you think we're buying? Or,
No, we already bought that.
okay,
We already bought it. We give 175,000 there.
yeah, I was just.
But you can't move that truck without getting off of the bucket or having a second driver seat. Am I confusing? Yeah.
No, I don't.
Well, I don't understand why we're talking about that when we're talking about the excavator.
Well, we bought that truck supposedly to help with doing ditches also. The conversation was we can also use it to ditch.
If we needed a spot ditch or something, if we see a pile of leaves or something, but not on the ditching crew, no.
Does the JCB or whatever, does it have outriggers on it?
Yes,
It does.
yeah, I have a picture of it if you want to see it.
Yeah, I'd like to see. The outriggers, and I've run a Stinger crane before with outriggers. And on that stuff, it states on the arm, you have a lever that tells you the degree of what you're operating at. And it tells you not to go past that degree. So my concern was on flat ground or somewhat flat ground, this would probably be fine. But once you get on some of these severe hills, okay, and you start reaching out there farther and getting your load, it's not going to be as stable as the cat excavator, in my opinion.
We did demo it for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We really didn't have any complaints with it.
Did you have it on the steep hills?
We had it on several gravel terrain hills, and the guys ditched a whole half mile or so road with it. I think we put 30 hours on this machine. They left it for 2 weeks.
Well, we have really been on a buying spree level. We just took delivery of those two. This is all connected, Kevin. We took delivery before you were superintendent on 2 new dump trucks. We'd waited 2 years. We bought a new tandem dump truck. You're in process of buying another tandem dump truck. We just leased a new grader. Okay, we bought the speed loader. You got a new pickup. The assistant got a used pickup. And did we get another Silverado pickup here lately? A white one?
That, the assistant didn't get another pickup. We got the white Chevy.
Who'd you get it for?
That was just for the
Crew?
the crew.
Okay. And we have spent so much money, and if I'm looking at that right, is that correct that we have that payment for the CAF already planned in the budget?
No, that there was, what was in the budget was, lease payments for $35,000. The buyout's 97,000. So our plan was, instead of buying that out for 97, we would use that partial lease payment that we had in the budget for the last few years, and we'd use that to go with it.
Well, this piece of paper, it looks like you're using that to do the JVCB hydro deal.
You're using that, yes, part of the funds would be coming out of that.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a $37,000 lease payment, which is not enough to cover the buyout. The buyout's $97,230.
Correct. Sure.
So that means that we have to, so that means there's a $60,230, $50, $230, $50, whatever it is.
So there's plenty of money there if we don't buy the JCB hydro deal.
You have, no, because you're taking on trade. There's money there in the funds. You're still gonna have to come up with the delta and the buyout about, I do quick math in my brain, rough numbers. So 148,000 off the 98, so you're at $53,000.
Would be left.
$53,000 would be what you would have above and beyond $37,000.
Confused me with that. So
Well, I'm
are
sorry.
you
but-
telling me that we don't have $97,230 to buy the cat?
No, I'm not saying that we don't. What I'm saying is, if we're looking at the numbers that we're comparing, we would have to come up with an additional $53,000 above the 97. There's a difference between the buyout and the difference in the 148 is $53,000.
Yeah.
Right? So
We
we
have
take
that
that,
money, correct?
if you take the $53,000 off of the 97,230.
Yeah.
Right? So that's $44,230. And then you take 44 minus the 37, which would be the other payment. That would leave you with having to come up with $7,000 to buy out the cap.
Man, that cat looks like a whole lot more machine than this, JCB.
That's why we plan on keeping the older one. We actually used the older one just this last week, removing some concrete blocks from Persimmon Ridge, that concrete job we were doing. And we needed that machine, so it was able to pick them blocks up. We borrowed a barrier coupler from paving company, which allowed us to pick these up. So I mean, we plan on keeping the older one if we can. It's paid for.
Well, this picture has got this machine loading wood. That's the same thing the speed loader can do.
That machine has abundance of things it can do. There's actually attachments you can get for that to do roadside mowing. You can put asphalt heads on it, mill asphalt. They actually have a model. It's called a Pothole Pro. It does all kinds of stuff. We're not buying that model, but you can put all types of attachments on that. It's kind of versatile.
But we're not buying that model. Uses
We're not buying the Pothole Pro, which does the more of the asphalt cutting. It actually has saws that you put on it. It cuts asphalt. It fills in holes, all kinds of stuff. But
I don't think that decision has to be made today.
The decision has to be made soon, because if we don't go back with the decision on the 30th, we're then not going to be able to keep this cash value offer price on the M318F. That ends at the end of October.
That leaves, well, if it ends at the end of October, I guess.
So I guess
Three more meetings or one more meeting?
So my question to you, Mr. Sanders, is the funds are in the budget to appropriate this. This is equipment replacement that the highway garage planned on. The information that we received today that we're discussing now and where we're at that point has not changed. Why postpone?
I was hoping I could reason with you.
You need reason with me here in public. That's what these meetings
I have tried to reason with
are. Okay.
Well, you delayed the vote from the last meeting. Eric, I'm here, there's more capability and we have money.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I'd like to do. Like I said, we want to keep the old one. We'll still have a big machine. We have spent some decent money on that last year or so to get it to where it's at now. And,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
and, you know, so if need be, and, you know, we're doing our small structure repairs and stuff, or if we need it for a bigger tree, you know, we can grab it. But it's not something that we plan on using, you know, 4 days a week. That was my justification on keeping the old one and letting I didn't see the value in the spending 97,000 when we had a estimated trade in at 110. There wasn't enough. I didn't feel there was enough money kind of left on the table to where we would be in it in a good enough shape to hang on to it.
Well, and I just want to clarify, the triaxle dump truck ranges anywhere from 52 to 66,000 gross vehicle weight, not 80.
No, but loaded
That's loaded. Gross vehicle working weight,
is how much?
52 to 66,000.
66,000. That's full load, legal.
Correct. Not 80.
Well, 16,000 on a 40,000 pound truck is, you'd only be hauling 8 ton on a 40,000 pound truck.
We're talking about, I don't know what the base GVR, the gross weight on an empty truck is.
I looked it up on Google.
Truck's about 24, you're putting 20 ton on it, it comes out at 66,000.
Correct.
At 20 ton, at 20,000.
20 tons of material on a tractor truck weighs 66,000.
The 20,000, none of that matches anything. I looked on Google. The lightest was 24,000 and it went up to 40,000.
I own a triaxle truck. I've done it for years.
Good for you.
Legal load is 66,000.
Yes, right.
Okay, good, right.
Thank you.
Okay.
So
Now,
what's
the
the
last thing I'll say is I know why you guys are going with this. That I can't mention it here in this meeting. And I'm not happy about it. Not happy about
I don't understand how
it. Yeah, I can't talk about it. We can't talk.
you brought it up.
We cannot talk about
I
personnel.
understand what you're saying, but I don't understand why that has anything to do.
I don't.
We cannot talk about personnel in a meeting.
Correct.
But I'm making a point.
And you're making an assumption, sir.
Now, I'm making a point. Make sure my point goes in the minutes, Sam.
What is your point?
We can't talk about personnel in a meeting.
Well, this isn't a personnel decisions, quick decision. Math's been done. He followed up, got you the estimates that you wanted on the trade-in values. That's what you asked for. That's what he provided. He gave you an explanation.
I mean, I've been looking at this all year. I mean, I talked to Cat and Volvo. I talked to everybody I could think of. This seemed like the best fit. I have no reason other than because this is the best fit to do this. So I'm kind of confused. I don't know.
So, all right,
Anything else?
is that it? Okay, have a motion.
I have a motion to move forward with the purchase of the piece of equipment as described.
Have a second? I'll second it.
All right, Tim, how do you vote?
Roll call.
Tim, how do you vote?
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Ron,
No.
All right, next item. Summary on the Pumpkin Bridge Road paving project, Mount T State Forest. What I'm gonna do is provide you kind of an update, just to review the concerns and key points that brought up on August 20th. That's part of the process as we walk through this. So Teresa, did you bring the, okay,
does that count? Is
bring it
that,
up?
that's start right?
All right. Miss Sarah, I see it. Okay. Overview, key points. Bragg County is considering how to improve the access to Mount T State Forest via Pumpkin Ridge Road. The original plan, $7 million from NDOT, met strong public opposition. And if you want to go out and look at the minutes, as you know, that meeting was streamed. The minutes are also online. I think we had 15 people speak out against that, or yeah, mostly against. Concerns focus on environmental impacts, high costs, safety issues, and lack of early community involvement. And commissioners have confirmed no agreement will be signed until solution is acceptable to residents and the agencies identified, which NDOT, summary, covered this last time too, timeline of key events. Well, got ahead of you.
Okay, ready.
Next
Next one.
Next one. Okay. This project started, the concept for the project started back in 2022. NDOT developed, the rough plan. In 2023, funding was requested by Grant County commissioners and the DNR commissioner to the governor. That money came in probably in 2024. No public meetings were identified that we know of, and that raised concerns about lack of citizen input. In all fairness, at the point, I think the plan was, and I think the project engineer and NDOT referenced that. I think the intent is that once that plan was submitted, that they were expecting the commissioners to vote on it, and then they would have taken over the public meetings. All the public meetings would have been on NDOT, not the commissioners. And so I think that was the intent all along. Maybe if we had another commissioner in here back then, they may have voted, who knows, but that was the plan from NDOT. And so when we had we got aware of the project in March. In May, we had a meeting. We voted against approving the NDOT agreement. Ron and I opposed it. In June of 25, we had an executive session with NDOT, DNR, and project engineers, wanted more information. That's where they came up with the idea of the 8-minute video where they try to address as many concerns as they could and sell that scope of the project. We had another meeting, July 16th. They presented their video and answered questions. That was unanimous by the commissioners, a no vote. We decided to table it and to seek more citizen input, which we did starting in August 20th. And so August 20th, you're aware of that one. Strong citizen opposition and folks highlighted the environmental, financial, and cultural concerns. Next one, key concerns 1 and 2, environmental and cultural. Mentioned harm to endangered species, that was the rattlesnakes, water quality, the streams and the runoffs, and the old growth trees were brought up. Risk of possible historical sites, that's part of NDOT's planning. I think that's unlikely. I don't know if we've had any ancient burial grounds anywhere out there, but again, they have to include that as part of their planning. And then the big thing was preserving Grant County's rural character and natural beauty. That was probably one of the bigger, that was an unusual size road to put in that particular area compared to the other kind of roads that we have within the county. And they said, and then again, the rural character on that. On the safety, hazards intersection of Pumpkin Ridge Road and Hoover Road was brought up. And then concerns about road usability during construction. Can you stop that road?
Yeah, thank you.
You can hear that?
Yeah.
Key concerns too.
Upset. That's what I do when I'm upset.
Financial, original NDOT cost estimate was $7 million. Again, if you recall, they did that estimate of the concept based on the available information. They didn't have any firm surveys at the time. They just kind of gave a broad concept in order to support funding to the state. And so when you do that, you kind of imagine the worst case, big concept, get the money that you want, and then downscale later. If you underestimated that project, good luck trying to go back to the state and asking for more money and admitting you blew the estimate and you need more money. So that was it. It's just a general concept at that particular time. So $7 million, I think everybody I talked to, that stuns folks on the scope of that particular project. On community and communications, that's always, yeah. So there are no public meetings held between 22 and 4, so it caught a lot of folks by surprise. And a confusion around whether a vote would occur on August 20th, which we weren't planning on voting on that too premature. And then the residents wanted clear updates and more opportunities for input, which I'm providing an update to this particular meeting, and we'll update every meeting. We'll have something, whatever the current status is on NDOT's planning or whatever. So it'll be on our agenda every meeting until we get through this process. The next one on communication challenges. Limited sense of awareness due to declining newspaper readership. A lot of folks I talk to don't get the paper. They may not get on social media. wasn't aware of the project going on Pumpkin Ridge. And then what we have on the agenda, I don't think a lot of people know, but we have an agenda center on our website. You can sign up to get an email listing of our agendas. So if you want to go out to the commissioner site and then sign up for agendas, you can get those in your mailbox. And so we plan 2 or 3 meetings ahead. You see on our agenda, we go about 2 or 3 meetings ahead, let you know what's going to be on there. So we try to communicate that. And of course, the Democrat does a phenomenal job on documenting the meetings from the commissioners and council meetings on the other government meetings. So paper is a great resource, and I encourage you to get a subscription if you don't have one. The effects on engagement. NDOT notices we learned did not reach all the residents, and then the county role was not clear. But NDOT was planning to do those public meetings. They weren't expecting us to have the series of meetings that we're having. So this lack of information led to skepticism and opposition for folks. Emergency solutions, establishing a neighborhood network, email list, ensure project updates reach more households. I think of the 7 property owners where land acquisition may be at that time, land acquisition may be needed. They're about 7. I think I got 4 emails, and Jason, you probably may have a few more, but I'm sharing that with John Miller. And so if we can get that list, we can keep everybody informed if they're not following the agenda and they're not following me. So we'll try to close that. On the DNR, on the property management, citizens concerns, Mount T's remote, no water supplies or privies. Risks include fire response challenges. You're allowed to have the campfires in primitive camping. So folks ask about the possible fire response. Potential road damage from logging trucks if logging occurs, and then worries about future expansions include horse amenities, horse camps, horse trailers, all terrain vehicles, other things. And DNR responded, said, hey, there's no plans to include horses or ATVs, and facility development remains limited to primitive camping. He said that at both meetings that they attended. The next one, road options under review. We went through this last meeting. Pretty much we got 4. NDOT, the 30-mile-per-hour road standard. Again, the opposition and the disrupts the rural character of the area. We went back after the meeting to NDOT and asked for a minimal design that they would approve and fund. So they're working on that now, what that minimal design will look like. So that's going on now. Another option is a county-led upgrade, and then the other options do nothing. So I tried to identify some pros and cons of various things. But right now we're waiting on the minimalist approach from NDOT. So don't have a firm date on that one yet, but when they come up with that, we'll go back to the meetings and repeat the process. So we'll work through it. Next steps. Commissioners will write updates at every public meeting. Look at our agenda, it's going to be on there. And then additional community meetings may be scheduled for deeper discussion. When NDOT comes up with the next option, we'll probably have a separate meeting because that last one took maybe 2.5 hours. If we need to have those special meetings just for that, that's what we'll do. So there'll be plenty of time and there won't be anything else on the agenda. So we're just dedicated to that. We'll have as many of those that we need to work through the process. Again, NDOT working on the lower cost alternatives. And then the commission will reaffirm no eminent domain authority will be delegated. And decision points in the agreement. We have an agreement that they drafted. There's decision points in the agreement, and then we'll align that with the detailed project plan once we come up with a solution everybody can live with. And then I just want to provide some context on this decision-making process. Oftentimes in the county, some of these decisions kind of rushed. I know in the music center, there are only 2 public meetings before the decision to build that occurred. And that was one meeting with the council, one meeting with the commissioners. That was it. That was the only public meetings that the elected officials had. So that was approved at those particular meetings. So oftentimes on these other decisions, it's kind of fast tracked and they're pushed. This is a little more deliberative process. If you look at our role, our responsibility is to identify the best solution for the county. And then we must listen to all the stakeholders and apply a documented and transparent process. So if you look at some of the stakeholders, you have the property owners who may have to acquire land for, or maybe not. You had residents who use Pumpkin Ridge Road. You had residents in surrounding areas. We had a lot of folks on Hoover Road that came in and talked about the impact that might have in their area. And then, of course, the other county residents and taxpayers that are interested, maintaining that, our country feel here. And then the outside folks, you've got the out-of-county visitors, Mount T, that's a state property, state asset. We all pay for that with our taxes. And of course, your other stakeholders are DNR, NDOT, and FEMA. So again, getting their input is just as well. So that's why we have the four options. That's why we'll work them through and listen to everybody. Why the process matters. Typically, controversial issues like this one, groups typically fall into three categories: a vocal minorities strongly for or against it, and I think you witnessed that. Well, we didn't have any fours last meeting. Many are different, uninformed, and then a persuadable middle who can support change if engaged. And that's the point of having these meetings, to engage folks and raise that awareness. Public input, open meetings, and collaborative decision-making process can reduce clarity and improve outcomes. So as we have these meetings, it's nothing hidden. We'll go through the detail. We'll listen to everybody's perspectives, and we'll work through the process, and we'll get to a solution everybody can live with. Again, the final slide, just elements of good decision-making. It's situational awareness on the culture, norms, and expectations. I think that was a biggie that came out. $7 million in a looked like an interstate highway in the middle of our county, that just was unusual to a lot of folks. And then establish the facts and assumptions and strengths and risks, decision criteria, comparing the positive and negatives of each option, and then select a solution and implement it with a clear project plan. And again, it's just like a house. You never sign like us. You never sign a contract unless you have a plan for the house and saw the specs. So that's the same thing here. We'll sign a contract, but we'll also see the plans and make sure those decision points are embedded in that. So we can ensure that how we'll get what we expect. So that's the point. And then if you want to see more detail on decision-making processes at the Brown County Leader Network, I've got a link out there that goes into a lot more detail on decision-making. I just hit the highlights. So again, just to summarize, very transparent. We'll go, you outline the process, we'll go through that, have as many meetings we have to get the right decision. So open it up for questions.
How about this? Did you just say when you signed about that? Or if you signed?
If, when, right.
Okay. The other thing I'd like to know is, when you worked on the contract, you added that the commissioners had the final say on eminent domain.
Right.
Okay, was that unanimous commissioner vote?
It was language we asked for, and that's what they gave us.
Language was asked that you had unanimous from all three commissioners.
I asked Tim if he would like to have that added.
You asked who?
Tim, if we had that added.
We added. Did we add it?
It's in the contract, yes.
That it has to be unanimous.
You didn't say unanimous. We added,
Well, can we add that it needs to be unanimous?
We can look at it. Sorry, we had a majority. Not unanimous.
Okay.
Okay.
yeah, you know, a little.
That's all. Wait a minute.
Tim Ford, county resident, Hoover Road. One question I've got is, any other accesses to that property gonna be opened up for them to do the work on this road? Cause there's 7 ways to get back in there. And there's another one that comes right off of Pumpkin Ridge that goes through other people's property. Now, they're putting up $7 million. They're relocating utilities. And I know for a fact on the other one that comes off Pumpkin Ridge, they're in the process with REMC of relocating all the utilities on that access up through there right now. They've already done diggings for artifacts and things like that, and we've been told directly by RMC that within a 2-year period, all the electric lines will be buried up there, which will give them even more access to come down that road through other people's property, if that's how they're gonna get people in and out back there. That's my question.
Okay, I guess I have to look at the map. So you're saying there's more than one road going in there that they could get to there?
There's 7 roads that
Well,
go
there's-
into that property.
I know it cuts off the other Pumpkin Ridge Road. It looked like you could also get, what was it, Annie Lane to get to Salt Creek
Annie Smith,
and Smith, yeah.
46, out, comes out down on Brown Hill Road. The campground there at Gnawbone, there's access that goes in from there.
Wow, okay.
There's another one directly across from my house on Hoover Road that comes out. Another one that comes out down to Sawmill on Hoover Road. There's several accesses to that property. But the one I'm inquiring, that I see I'm gonna use, they say they've got to guarantee people getting in and out there.
Right.
Is the other access that's coming right off the end of Pumpkin Ridge, right there by the parking area, where it turns there at Homesteads, and it comes all the way around, comes back out on Hoover Road.
Okay. So I've got concerns about road usability during construction, which I identified. Now we're looking at, they're gonna have an alternative access other than
Exactly.
Pumpkin Ridge Road. Okay, thank you.
So there's more to it than,
Well, where was RMC at on the property?
REMC comes up this road to access out.
Pumpkin Ridge Road? Yeah,
That's how electric gets all back into that whole area back in there.
Okay,
See, there's no REMC, there's no electric runs back Pumpkin Ridge Road. It all comes in from the backside,
backside being south,
backside being on the north,
north. Okay.
north of Pumpkin Ridge.
Okay,
So, yeah,
okay,
from about, I'm gonna say 3,000, 3,500 block of Hoover.
sure.
I mean, that, if they're guaranteeing people getting in now, they're gonna shut that road down. They gotta open something else up.
Yeah, it's a good
And
question.
that's gonna go through other people's property. It's gonna greatly affect them.
Okay. Thanks, Tim. That's part of the discussions. Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah,
Hi, Dina Patrick. I live here in town. I just kind of have a comment here. The Indiana State Forest has a 317-page procedure manual that was revised in September of 2024. And on page 70 of that manual, they have what they call the Good Neighbor Program. And the Good Neighbor Program is designed to better inform property neighbors of major activities occurring on the state property that could be disruptive to the neighbors. Each property is to maintain and routinely update a database to store their neighbor information. The database will be used to contact neighbors of portions of the property where major management activities are planned prior to the activity beginning. Major activities are anything involving non-routine actions, new construction, or heavy equipment. Examples of major activities that will require neighborhood contact track are new track construction, reconstruction of existing trail with bulldozer, timber harvest, prescribed fire marking, and marking new property lines. Well, back in the fall, they posted on their website that they were going to have a prescribed burn of 168 acres. It was on their website. They got absolutely no comment, nothing from any of the neighbors, no public input at all. And I think it's because they put it on their website. That's not being a good neighbor. Being a good neighbor is reaching out to the people who actually are in that area. And I talked to Jason when I got here and asked him if they had been informed, and he said no. So it just seems like, I know they had problems. They did not reach out to everybody regarding this project early on. And it just does not feel like they have been a good neighbor, and they should follow their manual.
okay.
Thank you.
Hey, do you have any, can you give me copies of what you're,
I can email it to you.
okay, if you would, I appreciate it. Thanks. You said that would allow them to, for neighbors to put their name in the database to be contacted on
They're
activities?
supposed to create the Forest Department is supposed to create the database. I didn't see anything in here that said the neighbors had a way to put their neighbor in, or their name in.
All right, thank you. All right, anybody else? Okay. Down to contractual services. Kevin,
Let's deal with the courthouse first.
okay,
So there are 3 bids that were collected when actually defining or pulling together the scope of work required to replace the windows on the courthouse. And that information was put out to Miller Architect, Attica is the third or second, and then the third was Browning Day. All of those particular agencies or groups, 2 of the 3 of them, had more experience working with historical buildings and actually working on projects of this nature. And those two are Attica and Browning Day. So given the information they compiled, there will be basically a scope of work, a site visit. We'll still come back and actually do a much more in-depth dive into the existing windows and doors, preparing a preliminary scope of work for what the replacement would look like. We're going to basically look and do the work to identify replacement windows and doors to meet the historical requirements that would may be dictated by that particular building, provide budget estimates for removal and installation of windows and those doors. And then the final one organization, which Browning Day, offered doing a follow-up meeting to review the scope of work document along with the budget before we see that. Normally, we would end up just basically going forth and getting 3 quotes to look at and say, here's the work that we need to have done. But in this particular situation, since this is a historic site, the process changes a little bit, and the recommendation is to proceed forward with pulling together what the scope of work needs to be. So in the work that was done by Dan Cartwright to go and pull that information together, 3 bids were collected. Attica came in at $8,500 for putting together that document. Browning Day came together with $4,250, and Miller Architect came through with $4,000. So I obviously normally we select the lowest bid, but in this particular instance, this is services. There is some gaps or differences in the expertise with regards to the other 2 that are working on this, and one of them is in the, as far as that goes, the preparation of the actual bid phase of this, as far as documentation package that needs to be put together, and then what that scope process looks like for that bid package. So my recommendation was to move forward with the Browning Day proposal for phase 1.
Hold up just a second. Let's have a little discussion.
discussion then, okay.
Okay. Mike Moger, are you up there?
Yes,
You seen the Browning Day proposal here?
I'm sorry, Ron, you cut out there. What'd you ask?
Have you seen the Browning Day proposal? If you look back, these pages are on front and back. So I want to thank 1, 2, 3 on the 4th page. Phase 1 scoping. It's got it, and it's got it on this page here, the Browning Days, $4,250. Miller Architect is quite capable of doing these windows. The other thing that I noticed about the Browning Day, there's phase 2. Okay. In phase 2, it looks like they want $12,250 for phase 2. Miller Architect estimated another $4,000. So Miller Architect would do phase 1 and phase 2 for $8,000, where if my numbers are right, Browning Day is going to be at $16,500, like $8,500 more. Do you have this
It's not a contract, it's a proposal.
proposal? Do you have this proposal, Mike Moger?
Yeah, so is your question about the lower bid? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, it's like $8,500 lower.
Yeah, so this is a service contract, so you don't have to follow the lowest bid. It's also below the $50,000 regardless.
Well, you said it was a service contract, and Kevin saying it's a proposal.
It's not a contract, Mike. It's the proposal of what the scope of work and what that would look like. A contract would follow.
It's a proposal for a service contract.
Correct.
So so in a service contract, what you're getting at is when you have a contract for materials, the proposal you would have to choose the lowest bid. For a service contract, within the proposal, you do not have to choose the lowest bid by Indiana statute.
Say that again.
For a service contract, you do not have to choose the lowest proposal before
Right.
entering the service contract by Indiana statute.
Okay. For service contract. So we can, again, and that's what was that was my understanding in this, is that we could go with Browning Day if we chose to do so. And the proposal at this point that I'm making is we're only looking at phase one. We're looking at the proposal that I put forth is to actually define the scope of work. And then we would go back out and put requests back out if we want to choose to continue to take a look at the package that we get from whomever we select. They could have an opportunity to look at phase two, which will be the actual bid process and putting the documentation together to put it out for bid. Because this project is not going to, the project in and of itself is not going to fall under the $150,000 price tag. It's going to have to go through the bid process.
So we're committing to the bid, as you identified here. That's what we're committing to this.
The one that's already in green.
Right.
Correct, that's my recommendation.
Any other discussion? Okay, motion,
I'll make a motion that we accept the proposal from Browning Day to give us the scope of work document for the courthouse window and door replacement.
got a second? I'll second. Roll call?
Ron, how do you vote?
No,
Tim, how do you vote?
Yes.
Kevin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Next item, clean contract.
So I want to handle two things because I had an agenda add item on this. There's a need because we are not going to be able to get under contract within the next week or so. The process that we are going forward with is putting together a proposal request to put out to various cleaning companies and or individuals who may be interested in either cleaning one or more of the buildings here in the county. And that scope of work document or that RFP, request for proposal, is not finished. It's looked at being finished by the end of the week. So could you pull that document up? I think it was called. Yes.
Is that it?
Yes. Thank you. Let me get it up so I know what I'm talking about. So the current proposal, looking at finishing it, trying to get it finished by the end of day so that we can release it to the public or go after and have them look at that request. That's on my desk. The proposal date, as far as that goes, is looking at a deadline for questions by the September 10th at the end of the day at 4 o'clock. The next step would then be looking at proposal submission deadline by the 12th of September at 4 o'clock. And then we would go through an evaluation period over the 15th and 16th in the commissioners, for the commissioners. And then we would go through and look at a quote selection and contract award by our next meeting. That's an aggressive schedule. I will attempt to make that happen so we can get this document finished and put forth. Mike's given me some initial guidelines and direction on the language there, and that will be something I will have to put before him. So it's not likely that I will have this done by the 4th. It may be the end of the week before that happens. So that schedule that was originally proposed was a nice slip. So in looking at that, and since we may not be able to get this under contract by the 17th with the company and getting them started, I sourced or worked and reached out to a couple of different organizations, Hard Truth Hills, tried to contact the Durham County Music Center. Those areas were people living in the community that had large buildings that would have services that would help clean those. And one of those I reached out to was the town of Nashville, and they graciously provided me with a contact person. The name of Eva, I believe Denver, if I'm not mistaken, or something. I should forget it. But she cleans the town's bad public bathrooms. I did a walkthrough on Friday afternoon with her into the 9 buildings itself, and basically identified for temporary purposes, looking at cleaning the common areas in the various buildings. In essence, this floor being the actual mezzanine out here, the actual break room, the public bathrooms themselves, the same would be downstairs, the stairs, the meeting room as far as vacuuming those, so that's not got a scope of work. But she did that walkthrough and I asked her to come back and give me a proposal. She gave me a verbal by text and then a phone call yesterday afternoon late because I wanted to have that for this meeting. And she's basically saying that on the common areas and the work that I identified for her, she would be willing to do that for $500 a week. And that would mean touching or cleaning each one of those buildings once a week to do that. Until we can actually get someone under contract to clean the facilities. Because right now we have no cleaning facility or services here in the county. Now, we have spoken with the other department heads and the elected officials. They've agreed to take on some of the burden with regards to their office space, looking at taking up their own trash and actually doing some intermittent cleaning within their offices themselves. So the common areas were the challenge, and that's what I had recommended to do. So that was put forth to say, should we consider going forward with and putting under contract Eva in the interim until we find someone and get under contract to do the permanent and provide permanent services. So that's for discussion amongst the board.
Little background, we got a 30-day notice from our clean contractors that they're gonna terminate the contracts. We had 30 days to react. So Kevin's done a phenomenal job. We went back and looked at the documentation and what happened, what didn't happen. We interviewed all the department heads on what they liked and didn't like about the contract. A lot of different holes, a lot of things that just slipped through the cracks over the years, and Kevin cleaned it up and developed a pretty good plan going forward. And this is like the short-term interim solution. So any discussion on that? Okay. Motion.
I would like to make a motion that contingent upon putting a contract in place with a defined scope of work that we move forward with putting Eva. Can you give me her last name, Sandy?
Merriman,
Merriman?
Merriman,
Merriman. Eva Merriman under the temporary contract for $500 a week, cleaning the common areas and as defined in the scope of work for the 9 areas that I identified, which was courthouse, annex building, veteran service office, parks and recreation, coroner's office, EMA building, health building, highway, and solid waste.
Do you have a copy of that temporary contract?
No, there's something that has to be crafted. So that's why I'm making the proposal or motion contingent upon a contract that we both agree upon.
Okay. Kevin made a motion. Is there a second? I'll second.
Roll call, Kevin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ron, how do you vote?
No.
Tim, how do you vote?
Yes. Okay, next item. Teresa?
I had a meeting today and the open enrollment is gonna be set for November, early November. We usually do that in October. Because we are looking to add a different tier to our insurance, so we'll go from 3 tiers to 4. That will be a lot of changes for our employees in the database. So we will definitely, schedule the road show, we call it, to go around all the different buildings to, have the employees talk with the different insurance providers. And that's pretty much all I got.
All right. Okay, thank you. Eric?
I don't have a whole lot. Country Club Bridge 111 is moving along. Beams are scheduled to be delivered Thursday, Friday this week, and set on the abutments.
Are those steel?
Yes,
Not encased in concrete?
they are steel.
Okay.
I wasn't sure.
So that's moving along. We do have a recommendation to, approve Milestone's bid for our local paving, which was $844,694.75. We checked everything out. Everything looks good. So I got their contract now. So I'd like to go ahead and accept their bid, and then we can get their contract looked at and make sure that's good, and get that signed at the next meeting or approved. So that's my recommendation. I really don't have anything else.
Motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept Milestone's contract bid for, can you give me the amount, Eric, please?
$844,694.75.
In that amount as stated?
Okay, second discussion.
Yeah. I seen a number missed yesterday of over $1 million. So forgive me if I don't always trust you guys' numbers. As far as the Millstone contract, I will second approving the pay at $844,694.75.
Okay,
Roll call.
roll call, Ron, how do you vote?
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
That kind of wraps up the agenda items. You see the ongoing business again. I'll identify that. It's a work in process by NDOT.
Hang on. I actually have something for Eric.
All right.
I got a phone call Labor Day asking about and I seen on your notes here that you put some pieces of equipment on Gov deals. Local was asking about the orange mowing piece of equipment. Has it been listed? Did they call you by any chance? Did you talk to somebody?
I heard from someone in Martinsville. There's a guy from Tennessee that was up today.
So this guy was local in the county.
We've had a few phone calls, had a couple people look at it. So it is listed.
Is everything listed? The dozer, the other mower?
Dozer's not listed. We just got the injection pump back, Tuesday and got it put on yesterday. So it's actually started it up today. So that'll be on there later this week or next week.
The old single axle dump truck,
The single axle,
John Deere, was it John Deere mower?
the single axle dump truck, the John Deere mower, the Savage, and then the dozer will be put on. We put the old hot box on there and the old roller that hasn't been moved or used in years.
Okay, when's that auction end?
I believe I have to double check. I know the 9th is next week, at least 3 of them end. So I don't know if they're 2 different dates or not. They have another week, I think.
Okay.
Thanks, sir. Point out on October 1 on our commission meeting, the health department will have hot spa tub ordinance and food fees is the first reading. We're going to have those ordinances posted on our website this week. Probably tomorrow at the latest. So if folks want to get ahead of that, see what the fees are going to be. That's the opportunity. So I have a first reading in October.
Can I make a point of order, sir?
Sure.
I would recommend that we not actually post those on our websites until the board of the health board votes on them on the 16th of September. Is that when they scheduled? That's when they're scheduled to vote.
All right.
Then that will give us the actual ones that will be coming for the commissioners to review.
Okay, they're doing that when? September 16th?
September 16th.
Okay, good. We'll wait then. Thanks. Thanks for bringing it up. All right, that's a wrap. Questions? Tim, you want to present?
you guys have a benefit meeting on the 16th too. September 16th. So benefit meeting.
Okay, I got an idea. I need the board's help to get it done. I've been wanting to dedicate part of 135 North as Jim Brester Highway. Researched this, worked on it with the state, NDOT. They send you back and forth, go to NDOT, send you to the state, NDOT. It turns out it's a legislative matter and it has to be petitioned by a county official. I can't get it done. So these things are just for people who's made a great impact on our community. I think nobody better than Jim. So I need your help.
So Jim, just so I understand, Tim, you're looking at what, going outside of town limits here on 135
5 miles
to
what you can do.
the overlook or wherever we can reach.
5 miles, wherever 5 miles is. Okay. And that could be 5 miles the other side of Bean Blossom. Nashville to Bean Blossom.
The state requirement is 5 miles. That's what they'll give us.
That's the maximum.
Okay, so do you have an idea of where it begins and ends, where you think it ought to begin and end?
I was thinking from Nashville to like the other side of Bean Blossom.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
Taking in where he used to do business.
yes,
Jim Bresser was a fine man.
because he impacted people not only in our community, but all around the state, people come to.
That's one thing we can agree on, sir.
So
So the county official needs to petition.
petition
Okay.
the state legislators so they can put it on their agenda, so then they can vote on it.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll run that by when we can.
We'll have our attorney take a look at that and see what we have to do.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Any other comments, folks? Okay, Mike, any comments? Mike, I'll go.
Mike?
Did I lose him?
You learn.
Doesn't hear me. I said no, nothing happened.
Mute button's tricky, buddy.
All right. Have a motion.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone, for being here.